Step into a world of romance and mystery with Tamora Rose. There is something irresistible about a love story that isn't supposed to happen. Perhaps it's the stolen glance across a crowded ballroom, the secret meeting beneath moonlit trees, the whispered confession that could destroy reputations, kingdoms, or entire worlds if anyone ever discovered it. Again and again, readers find themselves drawn to romances built on impossible circumstances. The lovers are divided by duty, class, family loyalty, ancient laws, rival kingdoms, supernatural barriers, or expectations that seem impossible to overcome. And yet, those are often the stories that stay with us the longest. Why? Why do forbidden romances captivate readers generation after generation? Why do stories of impossible love continue to outsell, outlast, and outshine so many simpler romances? The answer goes much deeper than attraction. At its heart, forbidden romance speaks to something profoundly human. Every one of us has experienced wanting something that felt just beyond our reach. Maybe it was a dream others didn't understand. Maybe it was a path people told us not to take. Maybe it was a version of ourselves we were afraid to become. Forbidden romance transforms those universal feelings into story. The lovers may be separated by social class, magical laws, family feuds, or centuries of tradition, but the emotional experience feels familiar. They want something the world tells them they cannot have, and readers understand that feeling immediately. In many ways, forbidden romance is the ultimate story of choice. Most romances ask whether two people belong together. Forbidden romance asks something far more difficult. What are you willing to sacrifice for love? That question changes everything. A duke falling in love with a governess is not merely a romance. It becomes a battle between duty and desire. A witch falling in love with a mortal is not simply attraction. It becomes a conflict between two worlds. A noblewoman falling for a stable hand risks more than heartbreak. She risks status and security and everything she's ever known. The moment consequences enter the story, the romance gains weight. Every touch matters more. Every conversation becomes charged with tension. Every stolen moment feels precious because it might be the last. Readers feel that tension instinctively. When something is forbidden, every interaction becomes meaningful. A simple brush of fingertips can carry more emotional power than a dozen ordinary kisses. A glance across the room can feel electric. A secret letter can become unforgettable. The restrictions create intensity, the barriers create longing. And longing is one of the most powerful emotions a romance can offer. In fact, longing may be the secret ingredient behind many of the greatest love stories ever written. Think about the romances readers remember for years. They rarely involve characters who get everything they want. Instead, they involve waiting, yearning, obstacles, moments where love seems impossible. That delay doesn't weaken the romance, it strengthens it. Every obstacle becomes another layer of emotional investment. Every setback deepens the reader's desire to see the lover succeed. By the time they finally reach each other, readers feel as though they have traveled the entire journey alongside them. But forbidden romance offers something else as well. It allows us to safely explore risk. In real life, most people are normally cautious. We weigh consequences, we think carefully before making choices that could change everything. Stories give us the chance to experience emotional danger without facing real-world consequences. We can step into the shoes of a character willing to risk everything. We can feel the fear, the excitement, the uncertainty. And then we can close the book when the journey ends. That emotional experience is exhilarating. For a few hundred pages, we get to imagine what it feels like to choose passion over certainty. To follow the heart instead of the rules, to believe that love might be worth the risk. Another reason forbidden romances resonate so deeply is because they touch one of humanity's oldest fears, the fear of not being chosen. Most people carry some version of that fear. The fear of being overlooked, the fear of being misunderstood, the fear of being deemed unworthy. Forbidden romances challenge those fears directly. In those stories, someone chooses love despite every reason not to. Despite danger, despite social pressure, despite family expectations, despite personal cost. The message becomes incredibly powerful. You are worth fighting for. You are worth choosing. You are worth risking everything for. Even when readers don't consciously recognize the message, they feel its emotional impact. It's one of the reasons why stories linger long after the final chapter. Of course, the most memorable forbidden romances are not simply about rebellion. They're also about consequences. Without consequences, there is no true tension. The best stories acknowledge the cost of difficult choices. Love can be beautiful, but it can also be complicated. Actions have repercussions. Choices carry weight, and sacrifices matter. When stories embrace those realities, the romance feels authentic rather than superficial. Readers aren't merely watching characters fall in love. They're watching characters decide who they are. Will they follow tradition? Will they follow duty? Will they follow fear? Or will they follow their hearts? Those decisions reveal character in ways few other elements of the story can. Sometimes forbidden romances end in triumph. The lovers overcome the obstacles standing between them. The world changes. The rules bend. The impossible becomes possible. And those endings leave readers with hope. Hope that courage can matter. Hope that love can transform lives. Hope that change is possible. But sometimes forbidden romances end in heartbreak. And even then, readers continue to return to them. Why? Because tragedy can still reveal truth. Even when love cannot survive, the attempt itself can be meaningful. The willingness to love despite impossible odds remains powerful. The courage remains admirable. The emotional journey remains unforgettable. Whether the ending brings joy or sorrow, readers are drawn to the same essential question. What happens when the heart refuses to obey? The question has inspired storytellers for centuries. It appears in castles and cottages, in haunted manors and enchanted forests, in historical ballrooms lit by candlelight, in supernatural worlds hidden beyond ordinary sight. The setting changes. The obstacles change, the rules change, but the emotional truth remains the same. Love challenges boundaries. Love asks difficult questions. Love forces people to confront who they are and what they value most. And perhaps that is why forbidden romance never loses its appeal. Because beneath every secret affair, every impossible attraction, every dangerous longing, lies a truth readers recognize within themselves. The desire to choose their own path. The courage to want what matters. The hope that something extraordinary might be worth the risk. That is the magic of forbidden romance. Not simply that the lovers break the rules, but that for a little while they remind us that some walls deserve to be questioned, some expectations deserve to be challenged, and some lovers are powerful enough to change everything. That's it for today. Tell me about your favorite forbidden romance and what made it unforgettable. Until we meet again, may your days be filled with passion and just a touch of magic.